in Florida. Yeah. Now they're Sanford MMA. I think I did that 2 years ago or a year ago. 2 years ago. Yeah, right before.
The best training I've probably gotten like that was when I went out to Extreme Couture's, and I was like.
You went out there too?
Yeah, I trained there for a week. I was training we're kind of like, I don't want to say partnered with, but our jiu-jitsu, whenever we're in Vegas, we go train with Robert Drysdale.
Oh, nice.
And so he has a lot of fighters that go and train there. So they invited me to go spar with them and then do like a kickboxing day. And
sweet, bro.
Yeah,
actually,
it was dope.
And man, we're actually live, man. I'm actually streaming right now. I mean, I'm gonna go back and this is gonna feed straight to the page and the group page. Okay. But everybody out there, man, this is sPidA here, the Fight Card Podcast. Once again, we are in downtown San Antonio, Texas. I have Isaac Moreno, my man. Thank you for showing up, and of course, Zachary Borrego, man. Thank you, gentlemen. Yes. You guys just came back from a training session, right?
Yes, sir.
And how did everything go, man?
It was good, man. It was good. It was a little early for a Saturday, but
had to get done.
Got it. Yeah, we're in camp, so it's nothing new, but good work.
No, yes, sir. Now, you guys are training at the USA gym, of course, with Ray and everybody else out there. When it comes to training, man, I mean, of course, you don't want to get injured. So, I mean, what is it that you guys do, like, try to avoid injuries, man? Is it like blind sparring, or how does that work?
I mean, you got to have the right training partners. You know, luckily, everyone there at USA is kind of in camp, so we all know kind of where we want to take it and, you know, not take it past that. But also everyone there has, like, you know, just a good attitude, and no one's trying to take your head off. You know, if you know you're open, then you'll get hit, but you're not gonna get knocked out or something crazy like that.
If they do, I'm pretty sure they'll wake you up. You know, they're kind enough to like, hey, we still need you. Now, as far as I mean, this fight coming up, man. I mean, both you guys are fighting for the Fury card here in San Antonio, right?
I'm not.
You're in Houston.
Yeah, I'll be fighting Houston March 27th.
Oh, okay. But you guys, I mean, you told me earlier. I mean, you guys been cross training for years, man.
Yeah.
And as far as from karate, from traditional martial arts.
Yeah,
sport
karate.
And let me ask you this, man, because I'm sure everybody wants to know, man. But is it Team Cobra Kai or Team Miyagi-Do, man? Which one is it, bro?
I haven't watched this new season, but when I was watching it, it was definitely Team Cobra Kai, man.
No, yeah. How could you not, right? I mean, maybe that's just me, bro. But yeah, man. I mean, I watched the last season. It was actually pretty, you know, it was interesting. You know, kind of a little plot twist, and I won't ruin it for you guys. But are you a fan of the series, bro, or not?
I mean, I don't
no time for TV.
Yeah.
No, and I hear you, man. I mean, I probably watch too much damn TV. But I mean, San Antonio. I mean, of course, you drove down here this weekend, or?
Yes, sir. I drove in this morning. I'm out of Brownsville, Texas, and I drove up here. It was like 3.5 hours, and then
I was gonna say I was thinking about that. For me, it's a 4-hour drive, bro. So you say you left at 7 and got here at what, 10:20? You must have been driving fast,
bro. I mean, I don't stop.
Just straight through.
Go,
damn.
Yeah. And then I left out of Edinburgh, so because my mom stays in.
That's
Edinburgh.
a little closer, right?
Yeah. So it's about an hour closer.
Okay.
So that's why if I would have left from Brownsville, it would have been 4 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then no stops.
I was thinking about it. I was like, damn, I've been 120 the whole way, you know.
Even though the drive to Houston is pretty fast for me too. So.
And let me ask you guys, and you can put your headset on. I'm sorry, man. I mean, you can still hear it from here. But let me ask you this, guys. As far as training, obviously for you, like road trips. I mean, you're used to that.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Me and my pops have been doing this for a long time. Ever since karate days, we've always cross-trained. We've always been on the road. We've driven to New York to go fight. We've driven
really from here in Texas.
Yeah, from Brownsville. We've taken off to New York to fight. We've fought in Florida. Everything driving. Because I mean, when coming up, there wasn't a lot of money, but we wanted to compete. So that's what it took, and that's what we did. So.
Wow, man. Well, I mean, that's interesting because I know people now, especially like with Muay Thai, I mean, you kind of have to drive outside the state. I know there's a couple of promotions that do host, a couple fights. You guys used to spar like you said, you used to compete back in karate, right? Mm-hmm. Who used to win, man?
It was on and off. We had our days.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I remember the first time I sparred him. It was out in like Brownsville or something like that, and he was kind of doing like the South Texas thing, and I was more like, still South, but a lot of central stuff, right. And like almost everything that we did was kind of like I'd hit him with something, he'd go, and so we were just like, it's point karate, you know.
Right.
So as soon as you touch, the fight stops. In the first fight, I'm like, it was like back and forth, you know. But we've both had our days, you know.
No, for sure, man. And I mean, how does it feel now? I mean, growing up, I mean, were you guys still kind of keeping tabs, like, oh, I'm gonna fight this guy again, or was it just, I mean,
kinda? I mean, he kind of stayed with the sport karate scene a little bit more. He followed it because there's kind of like circuits and stuff like
right.
that. But I knew like we were kind of the same weight class, and then even for a bigger guy at the time, I could still kind of move a little bit, you know, with just a little bit more with speed and stuff. So I knew that he matched that, and
right.
that was kind of like, if I saw him at the tournament, I'm like, we're probably gonna match.
and then growing up, we had like some solid competition. Like there was a bunch of big dudes that could move, and it was an awesome like competitive
atmosphere.
Yeah,
type of
atmosphere.
thing, yeah.
Nice, man.
We're always pushing each other, and
I've never been to a karate tournament. I mean, obviously, I've never trained in karate, but I mean, growing up, I mean, what were some idols that you guys were kind of looking at, thinking, man, I want to be like this?
Raymond Daniels.
Raymond Daniels for
Nice.
sure.
Raymond Daniels, Ross Levine, Chance Turner, Chad Canyon, all these guys that I eventually, like Chad Canyon, Chance Turner, I eventually got into the same team as them.
Oh, nice.
And we were all fighting on the same team, and it was, we've been all over, like fighting and won world titles, state titles, national titles.
Well, that must have been pretty cool, meeting your idols. Same thing, man. I mean, you've actually trained or been able to meet people.
I've always fought with them, and you know, we've talked about, it's just my father has his own school, and so
right.
I was always, you know, I don't want to, but I just kind of wanted to stay with our team and build a name for ourselves. And at the time, we had a few fighters too, so it was kind of
right.
like, it was always like us against them, or as far as Texas goes, you know.
Right.
But whenever we'd go out to like Cali or any other state, it was
Texas
we were
versus
together,
everybody.
Texas versus everyone
Oh,
else.
nice.
You know?
And that's kind of
Yeah.
cool, man. And I mean, you guys, I mean, back then, y'all competed like Texas versus somebody else. I mean, were y'all on the same team?
We were never on the same team, but like there was a few big tournaments in Florida or something like that, and you know, we see each other there, and we're like, okay, this is it's us against them type of thing. You know, it's nothing official, but when you're there, you
We
definitely
all
want to
understood it was like the unspoken rule, like
Right.
nah, Texas is gonna take over and take the tournament. So
Nice, man. And did they?
I
Back then?
mean, we'd bring it to them too. So
No, well,
they
that's
always
good, man.
people always knew that Texas fighters are gritty, and we're in there to.
Going to the fight, man.
Exactly.
I mean, especially after you travel across the state, you would have seen it, man.
It's funny because like in my eyes, like every kind of like the West Coast is more of like a flashy type of style. The East Coast is more hard, and like I feel like Texas kind of had both aspects. You know, we can be the quick, flashy, pop, or we can kind of stand in there and bang with you. And
So whatever they brought, you were
You're
okay.
good for
I can
it,
do
yeah.
that too, man. Sweet. Now, as far as rankings, man, through traditional martial arts, you said you were a black belt
Yes,
in
sir.
karate,
Yes,
and
sir.
yourself.
same for me, yes.
Okay, and I mean, of course, I mean, being mixed martial artist right now, that's your foundation, right? I mean, as far as do you guys prefer stand up, or I mean, have you guys balanced enough to where you're like comfortable on the ground as well?
I'm still, you know, the more and more I train, the more and more I get more comfortable on the ground. But I do prefer to stand up. I like to kind of stand and bang. And there's something about, in my opinion, like figuring out the openings, figuring out the person that you're fighting, and then being able to kind of make adjustments and counter off of that. It's just
Right.
something what I enjoy to do. Because you can really start to see like the confusion on the other person, like everything I'm doing, you know, and
Like, what are you doing, man?
exactly. But you know, being in MMA and kind of seeing where it's going and how much it's evolving so quickly, like you can't just be a stand-up fighter. You know what I mean? You gotta
Right,
learn everything and be good everywhere. So
No, for sure, man. And I know, I mean, I'm sure you guys have seen that, man, where the even mixed martial arts itself goes from striking, goes to grapplers, goes to striking, and so it kind of takes its turn. I mean, you're going to be making your pro debut, man. This is going to be here in San Antonio.
yes.
Pressure, man. Is there any pressure?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of like how we were talking about earlier. I feel like there's always pressure with a fight, you know, but especially being in your hometown, it adds up. You know, you don't want to go out there and lose or embarrass yourself a little bit. But I feel like I've been competing since I was a kid. I played college football. I played in some big, you know, stadiums and had some pressure moments. So all of that's kind of prepared me to get there. And at the end of the day, man, it's it's me going in there, and I know if I do what I got to do, I should be successful. So
no, for sure, man. Now, of course, yourself, man. I mean, you are undefeated, man. I mean, you had a undefeated amateur streak and undefeated as a pro. We talked about pressure earlier, man. I mean, but what is it that you personally, when you walk in the cage, I mean, do you kind of zone out and block everything out, or how does that work?
So I've fought in front of like hundreds of people doing karate.
Right.
We fought on ESPN. We fought like on it, like the national stage, and that pressure's always that pressure's been instilled since a kid. And so when I get in there, I just know it's time to work, and it's a business trip. I'm there to get my job done, and that's it. So it's just a mindset going in, and you just gotta get the job done.
No, I mean, definitely, man, because obviously, I mean, both you guys have been competing for years. I mean, since you were kids. And I say that without the respect, because how old are you right now?
I'm 25.
And yourself?
24.
Okay, well, you guys are still young, man. No, I mean, and as far as, I mean, what are you guys looking at as far as venturing into mixed martial arts, man? I mean, career-wise?
Yes, sir.
For sure, yeah.
And, I mean, you say you and your uncle have a business?
Yes, sir, the Savage 20 studio in Brownsville, Texas. And he's a black belt under Gracie Baja. And, I'm a black belt in karate. I teach the striking, and we have a brown belt that runs the jiu-jitsu program, but my uncle oversees everything and manages the studio. But yeah, we offer small group classes and personal one-on-ones. But it was a place, originally it started just with a place to train, like, for us.
Right.
And then we were like, well, you know what, let's give back to the people and try to build a business. And that's what we did, and there's been a pretty good outcome. And like I said, we have our own personal space to train. And,
okay, nice.
Yeah,
man.
so it's cool. And my uncle, I mean, I'm super thankful for him. I moved in with him, and then we've just been drilling, training, talking business, and that's what our daily conversations revolve around: martial arts and business. So, I mean, it's awesome. And he's been involving my jiu-jitsu game and wrestling. So, I mean, I want to take it, like, these next couple fights, I want to take it to a different level where people haven't seen me. So
no, for sure, man. And I mean, it must be a good thing having a jiu-jitsu encyclopedia there with you, right? I mean, the guy's a black belt, so
exactly.
I mean, definitely a good thing, man.
And he's nasty with it too. So,
no, family or not, right? He's
exactly.
Good, man. Well, I mean, that's good, man. Because I mean, obviously, I mean, coming from striking, I mean, as far as your traditional martial arts, was it kind of awkward when you started to transition, or how did that work?
So I started jiu-jitsu when I was in 6th grade, and my uncle started too. He was a white belt. We were both white belts. He was there a little longer than me.
Oh, nice.
And then, he just stuck with it, and I was like, I don't like getting beat up. Like, I was getting beat up on the ground, and I wasn't used to that. I'm used to karate where it's just winning. And, like, I was a sore loser. Like, I didn't like losing, and I didn't like the thought of not being able to throw a punch or a kick. And, getting older now, like, I appreciate the art more, because you have to think, you have to break things down, and it's critical thinking. Like, one wrong move and you're in a bad position, or you have to think three moves ahead. Like, I'm gonna do this, he's gonna do that, and then I'll be able to capitalize on that. So it was a rude awakening when I first started, but now, like, I'm comfortable.
Like, I should have stuck with it, man.
Exactly. I would have been at least a brown belt by now.
And you're still young too, man.
Yes,
so I mean, obviously, I mean, you know, it's like they say, once you get your black belt, you're still learning. Because, you know, obviously with karate, I'm sure it's the same thing. You keep adding tools and keep getting better.
The game's always evolving.
Right.
So, and that's in every martial art. The game's always evolving, and even MMA, everything's evolving. Like, it's crazy.
No, yeah. I mean, I talked earlier about the evolution, man. I mean, of course, you know, at one point the grapplers were champions, and then the strikers started learning how to grapple, and of course, you know, I mean, it's like they say, man, in order to beat boxing, you got to box. In order to beat jiu-jitsu, you got to learn jiu-jitsu. Exactly. So, you know, complement each other. Now, growing up with your dad, bro, and I got to ask you, was he, I mean, you started martial arts with your dad?
Yeah.
And at what age?
Ever since I could walk, man. Probably like
He's like,
3 years old officially. Yeah.
And I mean, how long has he been in that establishment? Because I know he's been there for years.
Probably a year after I was born, so about 24 years, yeah.
You see, and I always like that spot because it's a corner lot, and every time I was like, man, there's parking everywhere, man.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about
I like
parking.
it, man, because, like, it's like a dojo, you know?
Yeah.
It's got some wooden poles, and it's got, like, a weird kind of roof. It looks kind of like
old school,
Oriental
man. Type of thing.
Yeah.
And, I mean, and your pops, dude, I mean, without the respect, I mean, did he, where did he get martial arts from?
So he took it on ever since he was a kid. He did boxing first. Of course, I think it was a little bit more bigger than like karate was at the time.
Right. San Antnonio, of course.
And then his uncle actually was in the military, and he was doing like some type of combative courses. And so when he came back home from the military, he started learning from his uncle.
Oh, nice.
And then his uncle found an instructor out here. I believe his name was Richard Brown. Might be one of his second instructors, but he started training with him, and then kind of just ventured with multiple instructors. My dad's a black belt in multiple systems, so he did karate for a little bit, and then he ventured off into like the Korean side, Taekwondo, and the traditional system with that was Kunjun Musul, which is a fighting art system in Korea. And he got a black belt under Grandmaster Sun Tae-yang, which is like a famous, really big instructor in the Korean side, and then kind of just took his all his knowledge over the years and made his own school.
And that's kind of what you were talking about earlier, man, because it's been MMA for years, right? Because he's been incorporating different styles. And
that's something that I really see his vision now. Back then, there's a lot of people, like, you go into a Muay, and I'm not I'm just using this as an example. You go into a Muay Thai gym, you're only going to learn Muay Thai. You go into a Taekwondo school, you're only going to learn Taekwondo. You go to a traditional Shotokan school, you're only going to, we've kind of always done it all. And the organization that we're with now, the Black Knight Karate Association, even though karate's in the name, we do have like multiple aspects of different martial arts that are kind of involved with it.
Right. And of course, karate itself doesn't stand for open hand.
Open hand defense.
Yeah, so it makes sense. You can add other implements, other techniques and whatnot.
Yeah.
Now, your dad, man, let me ask you, man, how would he do against Randy Couture, man? Talk to me, man.
I think he had his own, man. I don't know.
No, I mean, I've seen photos of your dad, and he looks like a stand-up dude. I mean, he's definitely somebody I wouldn't want to mess with. How is he, man? I mean, obviously, when he goes, to the dojo, I mean, his role is just all about training. And
I mean, it depends on what we got. We have a few fighters at our gym who've been with us for a while who have done sport karate first and now transitioning over, and it just kind of, I like to see him as like an overall kind of a head coach. The head coach isn't necessarily too involved, but he's going to study your fighter. He's going to tell you what you got to do, what you can't do, and then give you points on how to implement your game plan, and then if something goes wrong, how to get out of it. And the good thing about my pops is he's very open-minded, so I'm working with a wrestling coach, I'm working with a jiu-jitsu coach, and he kind of lets them kind of handle their own.
Right.
And then when it's a sparring day or whenever we kind of put it all together, he'll kind of oversee everything. And
well, I mean, that's great that you have him, there to do that, man. Because I mean, obviously, he's investing in your career.
Yeah, and that's something like having a father, as a coach it can be a little difficult at times, because obviously that's situation with the coach father, it can kind of get mixed up. But kind of having him in the corner has always been like he knows exactly what to say. He knows, sometimes if I'm on my back, hearing him just get up, it's kind of just a little bit different, so it's been a blessing to have him there for sure.
And I mean, you mentioned, separating being a dad from being your instructor. I mean, as a kid, man, I mean, you went home, did he kind of apart from that, or was he still like, hey, go?
To be honest, man, no, but I wouldn't have had it any other way. It's just when you dedicated your life like how he has, that's his life. It's not going to change when you go home.
Right.
But I think it's molded me into the person I am because I feel like to be good in anything, you have to be 100. You can't like turn it off and turn it on. Mentally, there's some days where you kind of got to step away, but even on those days, I'm still thinking, okay, I have flashbacks of the sparring that I had 3 days ago. I should have done this. And having a dad there that can kind of tell you that is, what I like, and I think it's the best for my career right now. So.
No, man, I can, it's a great thing, man. Yeah, I love that. Like I mentioned earlier, man. I was talking to one of the guys earlier, and we were talking about Facebook, and he was like, oh man, I'm too young. I'm on Instagram. And I'm thinking, you know what? I mean, the kid's 18. He's actually making his debut also on the Fury card.
Okay.
But you know, it's kind of. I have a lot of the parents that are on Facebook from martial arts, from UFC guys to guys in Bellator, and I'm old enough to be their younger brother. They're older than me. I'm joking. But you know, it's kind of cool, man, because they follow their kids. I mean, they're on social media. They're, you know, you see that kind of support, and it's kind of like, man. And I always ask the fighters, you know, I say, man, is your dad your number one fan? And they're like, yeah, man, for sure. You know, because they're supporting you guys. And I mean, the fact that you have your dad there with you, man, I mean, that's a great thing. You had mentioned you cross train.
Yeah.
Where else? I mean, other than local, I mean, where else have you been able to cross train at?
Yeah, so I definitely train with him as much as I can. Probably it's been more than like 2 months, but I try to get out there maybe once a month, every other month, something like that, depending on when the fight is. You know?
Right.
And that's out in Brownsville. I've done some cross training in Houston, and then this is through my dad. Is kind of established a relationship with Robert Drysdale out in Vegas. His gym is Zenith, Drysdale's Zenith Jiu-Jitsu, something like that. And so I've trained with him a few times out there, and just training with him and kind of getting, you know, cool with a lot of his fighters. They do their sparring at Extreme Couture's, and so I've trained out there a few times as well. Yeah, and that was pretty cool, man. You know, to be honest, the first time I went out there, I had one amateur fight, so I was 1-0, and I was thinking I was the biggest thing. And then you walk in, and Francis Ngannou and Brad Tavares, and it's like, oh, okay, you know, you get kind of humbled real quick. But same thing over there. Everybody, and that's what I like about Vegas, is everybody over there is trying to get better, you know, and they literally see you as an opportunity to get better, and that's not in a bad way. They'll kind of see your style and see what you bring to the table, and you know, it's a great atmosphere being out there. And hopefully, you know, after I get a couple of wins going, I do plan on going out there and, you know, doing most of my camp out there. Yeah.
Man, and I mean, were you able, even back then, were you able to train with some of these guys?
Yeah, so it was a funny story. The first time I was there, I went with one of their jiu-jitsu coaches, and his Robert Drysdale's jiu-jitsu coach, his name's Marcelo Nunes. He's, I think, 5-1 or something like that. His only losses to Rafael Lovato. Anyway, so I go, and he kind of takes me, and we're starting to warm up, and I'm kind of noticing, like, the mat, I mean, it's a huge mat, you know, is starting to break up with, like, we're kind of in the middle. The bigger dudes are like towards the left, and then kind of the smaller dudes are towards the right. And so I do 2 rounds. The first round I did it with was I sparred with the Leech. And at the time I'm like, I know I've seen you, you know, but so we had a good round. And then I sparred with some other Russian dude, and he's not speaking English. He has like a translator with him, and he's telling me, he's like pointing like, oh, you know, you're there, and I'm like, dude, what are you trying to tell me, you know? And then after the round finishes, his translator's like, you're a big dude. Like, the room separates into heavyweights, kind of middles, and then like the smaller. And I was kind of staying on like the smaller guys, you know. So that was fun, man. But you know, just a big name gym, and it was good training out there for sure.
Oh man, I mean, definitely. Have you been able to cross train as well, man?
Yes, sir. I've trained a little bit of everywhere, but my main gym's out of Gracie Baja Katy, and that's where I do most of my camp with Professor Chris Mango. And me and my teammates, we decided to head out to Hard Knocks in Fort Lauderdale, and that was pretty fun. We spent 3 weeks out there, and we were in the same boat. Like, we were kind of starstruck. I mean, you're with Vitor Belfort, you're with who else? Michael Johnson. There's a whole bunch of dudes out there, and like, it's cool because I made like, I created relationships with these guys. Like, I'm cool now with like Delano Taylor. He just won the strap for one of the organizations out there in Florida.
Right.
And he's a big 170 also. There's a whole bunch of 170s, so I was able to get some work, and like, it was an awesome experience, and created some awesome friendships. So
yeah. Obviously, I mean, were you able to like say row with Vitor Belfort?
Yeah,
nice.
I got to box with him. So he put it on me too. So
he's softball too, right?
Yeah. So we were going back and forth, and
man.
I mean,
that must have been good though.
Yeah, it was like it opened my eyes. I was like, dang, this guy is old and he can still move. Like,
you didn't say that to him though, right? You wouldn't be here right now, bro.
Exactly. No, but then after, he's like, man, you move good, and I was like, I was like, oh my gosh, Vitor Belfort just told me like I move good. So I was starstruck, and it was a humbling experience. Like I could see like there's levels to the game, and what I needed to improve on. It was a wake up call.
Right.
Going out there, because I was getting beat up too. Like I'm not used to getting beat up, and not necessarily beat up, but I was getting tagged when I don't normally get tagged.
Right.
And we were able to compete. Like I was able to like find that drive. Like okay, I got to step my game up too, because they're stepping their game up, and we're able to read each other, make those small adjustments. And
Sweet,
yeah, so it was awesome. It was an awesome experience, and I want to go out there again. So.
No, I mean, I can imagine, man, because obviously, like I said, both you guys are still young. Yeah, as far as age, man. I mean, your career. I can only imagine where you guys are going to be in another 5 years. Hopefully, y'all won't get too big that y'all stop coming over here. But man, I gotta ask this, bro, because I met Vitor Belfort. I met him at the UFC Expo. This was in Houston. I think in 2000. It was years back. But I was able to talk to the guy. He was pretty cool, man. I mean, I'm talking to him. I was with my girl at the time, and. I didn't realize like it was an expo, so they're talking, and I'm like, "Hey, can you take a photo?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, sure." So he took a photo of my girl and then me, and they opened the curtain behind him. It's like a big old line, bro. And I was like, "Oh crap, dude!" And they're like, "Hey man, you gotta get in line," And I'm like, "I already got my photo."
Yeah.
But it's cool, man, because even here locally, of course, like you guys can be up in Bellator a couple of years, and UFC a couple of years. You can be PFL. There's so many promotions out there, so many opportunities. And it's good to stay grounded. Of course, once you get McGregor money, of course you don't have to talk to nobody. But it's good to stay grounded, man. Like you said, because even training with Vitor, training out there with Extreme Couture, these guys, they were in your shoes at one time.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just kind of cool to like, hey, you know what, these guys
are human too. Like they're superstars. And they're at the highest level, but they started out just like we did. Like,
oh yeah, dude, and something like that. Man, I gotta ask you, for both you guys. Does that motivate you even more
to train out there?
Yeah,
see
these guys and be like, man, like what?
What at least for me kind of opens my eyes is, obviously they're a little bit more further in their careers, but for these big name guys, they're there at the gym every time that I'm there. Sometimes before I'm there, and so it's like. To be at that level, it's 100% commitment, and it's work. Never did they come in. Like I said, I was training right next to Francis Ngannou. Never did he have like I'm Francis Ngannou, walking with it. He was straight to work, and that was kind of like an eye opening. Because like I said, at the time I went out there, I was 1-0, and I'm like 2 more wins, I'm gonna go pro. Anybody can just dust anybody, and just seeing how much work ethic they put into it, it was eye opening for me, and it motivated me, to definitely get on that level if I want to get there,
No, and I gotta ask, bro. Obviously, you'll be fighting in March.
Yes, sir.
And is that through a contract, or are you hoping to fight in March?
No, that's through a contract. We're still finalizing some things, but that's the plan right now. And Eric Garcia has been putting some awesome shows together, and he takes care of the fighters. So.
No, and obviously, he's a feeder company into the UFC, so of course, you're fighting for a great promotion, man. The guy, I know he recently got picked up by the UFC Fight Pass. Of course, he's got that relationship with Dana White now, where Dana's. UFC's going to Houston next month. Are you guys going out there?
I might, man. I forgot it was happening. Yeah, I gotta hit my Houston connect.
Yeah, bro. You see, and I know Derek Lewis got picked up, so he's fighting out there. Of course, other than people that you've trained with and you've actually been able, is there some like one fighter that you're like, man, I want to go and train with this one guy?
Locally or like
or just anywhere. Say if you had an opportunity to go tomorrow, or they'll tell you, hey, we'll fly you out here. Where would it be?
I'd probably go back to Vegas, to be honest. And that's not just, there's a lot of good gyms out here. I do some training over there at Ambush Muay Thai. They have a whole bunch of good kickboxers. There's some people here, of course, at Ultimate Submission, Brazilian Top Team. Everyone's got, their own kind of thing that they bring. But as far as like being in a room where everybody is good and everybody's like on a big promotion, I would definitely go to Vegas and just... there was one dude that I trained with kind of on a regular when I was out there. His name's Misha Serkinov. He fights for the UFC. And he was a good training partner. He was strong. He could move. And he never did anything. If he caught me, he caught me. But it was never too crazy, and it was a good work experience that I had when I was up there. And then of course this dude.
No, of course, man. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And yourself, man? Who would it be, man?
I'd go to Sanford MMA, and they just moved to Deerfield Beach.
Oh.
It's in Florida, but
right.
Yeah, the facility's awesome. The coaches are great, and then like I said, there's a whole bunch of competitors, and the camp. There's a bunch of big dudes, like 170s. So
yeah.
I mean, you evolve with people that are at your level. So
no, for sure, man. I mean, it's just like that saying goes, man. I mean, you keep a minimum wage mentality, you find minimum wage.
Right.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, especially, and I gotta ask because obviously, I mean, you have a fight coming up. You're still like a month and a half away,
yeah.
But being able to help him, of course, he's going to return the favor, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
And I mean, that's how this MMA relationship started. Like, hey, let's help each other out. We both came up from sport karate.
Right.
We're both like on a good path in MMA. Let's help each other out. Let's excel our progress in martial arts. And I mean, since kids we were pushing each other, so now we get to push each other and mix in takedowns, mix in jiu-jitsu, mix in wrestling. Like we're evolving. We're still evolving,
right?
And we're both young. We're both athletic. We're both strong. So it's awesome that we get to work with each other and push each other.
And I just gotta know who's a better dancer, bro.
Shit.
Y'all both fight, y'all both compete, but if it was a dance battle, man, who would win?
I know. I think I'd take that.
There you go.
If I had maybe some alcoholic drinks.
There you go. I was gonna say, man, we get tipsy then, man.
There you go.
Yes, that's gonna be here in a few months, but we'll go out there and meet up and see.
I think everyone's a good dancer.
Oh, yeah.
When you got a little,
I'm a good singer. I'm a good man. I can get alcohol. And I'm good.
Man of many talents.
No, but man, I mean, as far as even now, man, I mean, I appreciate you guys being open as far as even laughing because I like to joke around a lot, man, and that's mostly because life is going to be hectic no matter what. So of course we got to make the most of it. Of course we talked. COVID happened years back and it's still going on. We're still dealing with as far as what's out there right now. But with that being said, man, I mean, the world basically shut down. In 2020, 2021, they opened up. I mean, well, in Texas, we were kind of like, man, screw it, man, we're going to get going, But, I mean, obviously, you guys are looking for to stay busy this year.
Yeah, for sure. I just recently signed a 4-fight contract, so, I'm planning on staying busy. And there's been a few, for this first fight, I've already had 3 opponent changes, so it's been kind of frustrating. But, I mean, I truly feel like if I'm at the top of my game and I'm doing what I got to do, it doesn't matter who's in front of me, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that like some tough guy stuff. It's just kind of if I'm doing everything that I need to be doing,
right.
I know I'll be ready for a fight, whoever that may be, and they put in front of me. So with that being said, pray to God that I don't get no crazy injuries or don't get kind of the sickness that's going on, COVID,
right.
But yeah, I do plan on finishing those 4 fights this year for sure.
No, man, and you were saying your opponent actually he's being flown in.
Yeah, he's out in Washington, from Washington.
Oh, wow, man. And I mean, of course, man, because I mean, you've trained with good people. I mean, your guys are cross training, of course, with each other. But like you said, at that skill level, I mean, it's only going to get better. I mean, through your amateur circuit, of course. Your last fight in the amateur circuit was actually an unfortunate loss. Now, I always ask people because when it comes to fighting, especially as an amateur, everybody's always like, man, once I hit that belt, I'm going pro. With you, were you already like, man, whether I win or lose, I'm still going to go?
I mean, I was definitely not thinking that I was going to lose the fight, But we sat down and we talked about it, and like there were still some options as an amateur, but it's just... we felt like we were ready. I felt like I was ready, and I had been training with pros. I train with pros all the time, and they kind of helped me with that thought process. But for me, in that last fight specifically, like I knew my mistake, and I knew immediately when I kicked. Like we hadn't really been drilling kicks the whole camp,
right.
And that was just I rocked him with the front kick, just like how we planned it. And when I went to try to finish it, I already knew, And then even off my back, I don't know if you saw, but there's a little bit of controversy. A lot of people thought he was out, for a little bit. Imagine if I start throwing some elbows with that,
Right.
it's a whole different ball game. And then after, I rewatched that fight multiple times, and I know my mistake. And it's just a matter of cleaning it up. It shouldn't slow down the process of where I wanted to go to, If it was a different loss and it happened a different way, maybe, but like I said, it sucks the most because I knew I was the one who put myself in that position.
Right,
you know what I mean? It'd be different if I'm like, I don't know how I keep getting here. You know what I mean?
No, for sure, man. And that's a good thing because obviously, you haven't lost yet. When it comes to fighting, what one fight have you learned from more the most? Like, was there one fight that you were like, obviously you won, but was there one fight that you picked up a lot and were like, you know what, I got to work on this, or I got to...
My first fight was at 185, and I was going versus a cornerback for the Seattle Seahawks.
Oh, damn.
He was 6'3", Jamal Marshall. And, I had to dig deep. Like, it was something that I was just like, you know what, I'm going to try MMA. Like, I was training for a little bit, and I was like, you know what, let's just do it. So I went in there. He's the only one that's gone to the third round. So I had to dig deep, and I ended up submitting him in the last round. But after that, like, I kind of questioned myself, like, is this what I want to do? Is this the career I want to follow? And talking with my team, I was like, you know what, I think I can do this. Let's drop to 170 and let's start running game there, and knockout after knockout in 170, and finish after finish. And each fight I learned something from.
Right.
So. I make some mistakes that the opponent doesn't capitalize on, and I get to fix that. But sometimes those mistakes like get you caught, or I got caught in my last fight for a mistake also, and I learned from that. But I came back and I finished him in the second round, and that was my pro debut. The guy had like a crazy amount of amateur fights. I think it was like 17-0 or 17-1 as an amateur, and I was like, dang, this guy has a lot of fights.
No kidding, man. That's a lot, bro.
So we were like, you know what, let's do it. I think it was 1-0 or 0-1, something like that. And so we did it, and I got caught, and that was just me being lazy. I was like, man, I can't believe I got caught with that. Like, I just rewatch them, like, and then there's so many things like I could just clean up and make it look like, just highlight real people.
Right.
And that's my goal. Like, my nickname's Primetime, and I want to put on a show when I step into the cage. Every single time I want to put on for the fans. Like, I'm a showman in there, so that's what I want to do. And hopefully this year I want to push for 4 to 5 fights this year.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I want to push it, and I think I got like 2 more fights on my contract, and then
with FuryFC.
Yeah, and then but I want to push for the 4, and we'll see from there. My management, we've talked about things like going to the UFC, going to Bellator, but we're aiming for the UFC, and that's the goal.
Man, for sure. Because obviously, even in San Antonio, we've had a couple of UFC fighters. We still have 2 with CJ Vergara, of course, Pete Spratt, Alex Hernandez. He's still in there, but there's a lot more. I guess in 2020 was when COVID was still going. A lot of fighters were getting dropped or were getting caught in the UFC, as far as catching the virus, and so a lot of fighters got opportunities, man, because they were like, well, we need more fighters, so they started bringing in top talent, something like that. Is your mentality right now for both you guys, like, you know what, stay ready, like, in case something does come up?
Oh, for sure. I'm constantly, like, even when I'm not in camp, I'm still in camp. I'm still young in the sport, and I'm constantly trying to evolve my game, so I'm never like not training, and because of that, I feel like I'm ready. Of course, when you get a matchup, then you start making little tweaks, and then you kind of just focus on your game plan. But other than that, like, I'm still training, so
And yourself?
So this is still a learning process, and I've already got it down to where, hey, I can't blow up after a fight, like, because I gain weight fast, and like my walk around weight is like not 190, 185. I'm at 215, 220 walking around. Like, I'm not a small guy, so I have to stay on my diet. I have to, and then in Brownsville, I mean, we got good food.
I know, so, man. You see, I mean, with the holidays, was it hard for you, man, to avoid?
Yeah, I mean, it was hard because I had a fight canceled, you know, so I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Still stayed on my diet. And then this last one that got canceled, I'm like, you know, it's frustrating because it's like, man, I could have gotten some tamales or something, you know. But as far as like when at that point, I think I was like 7 weeks out, you know, I'm kind of already getting into the flow of things. My diet's already been pretty consistent, so it's nothing too crazy. And I don't walk around too heavy. I'll get up to about maybe 215 when I'm trying to put on some muscle.
Right.
But other than that, I'm like naturally around 210, you know. So that's kind of helps me. You know, I'll have a tamale, I'll have some ham, I'll have some potatoes, rice.
Like, I'm gonna work out later.
Yeah. So I can kind of manage it a little bit.
And this fight coming up, it's gonna be at what weight class?
185.
Oh, okay. And I mean, closer to fight time, of course, you start dropping water weight. But what are you gonna be at like the week up?
I've gotten it down pretty much to where about a week out, I'll get down to about 205, and then just start, you know, 2 pounds a day. I try to be like that Wednesday before weigh-ins, anywhere between like 200 and 197, and then just kind of water cut the rest.
And when it comes to it, because I've seen it just from, you know, fighters in general, but what did you have to do to maintain that? I mean, exactly, like, what do you do like to lose that water weight?
For me, I do a process of water loading. So like, I'll start early in the week at like 1.5, and then I'll work my way up to 3 gallons. And I'm still working out, so I'm constantly sweating it out, you know, but I'm pretty sure someone can explain the science behind it. But I think your body thinks like you're getting an overload of water, so you're starting to push out more, starting to use the restroom a lot, obviously.
Right.
You're starting to sweat just doing little stuff. And then, of course, your diet is got to be on point, you know. And
calorie intake and everything else.
Usually, like when I start my cut, the day before, I'll do like a sweat out sesh, and then I'll do maybe like a little jog with the sauna suit, and then just use the hot bath. That's been kind of the primary one for me. I hate it, but it works. You know?
And for yourself, man, what do you do, man?
Pretty much the same thing. I worked with this nutritionist, Eric Benyon, out of Miami. He's Dustin Poirier's nutritionist also, and he has it down to a science, man. Like, I was dropping weight like crazy. I was still eating up to weigh-ins. Like,
oh wow.
Yeah. I mean, I think I only had like 4 hours where I didn't eat. So yeah, and I mean, he had it down to a science. I mean, the bath makes a coward of us all, but I mean, it's part of the job. So it's that last little battle before the big battle. So
you see, and your next fight is gonna be at what weight class?
170.
Okay, and I mean, because obviously, I mean, both of you guys walk around at 200 plus, you know, 210, 215. So I mean, different body frames, because I mean, you obviously look like the bigger person, man. But are you thinking maybe 170? Like,
yeah, a lot of people have told me like I have the body frame for 170, you know, and I think the plan is to eventually see if we can get down there by my 4th fight. To try to start maybe working our way down, but you know, I've never really been there. The last time I've been there I was like probably 9 or something crazy, you know. So I definitely want to see how I feel, you know, because as much as weight does make a difference, if you're feeling like crap going into a fight, you know, you're not going to fight at your best. You know?
Yeah, you don't want to have a bad weight cut, man.
And that's the same thing, like, I've done a 205 fight, and I've done a few, 2 of them, and that's not the weight class for me, you know, because you have people cutting down from 230, 240, 6'8", 6'6" people. Yeah, and so, you know, it's definitely finding that right mixture, but I think I can hit it, because like these last 2 cuts, man, to be honest, 185 has been pretty easy. Like, it sucks, obviously you're cutting weight, but it's nothing crazy where I'm like dying of thirst, or I'm, you know, I don't feel good, but it is what it is. So.
And let me ask you this, because obviously you have a nutritionist, man. Are you thinking that same route, like once it's closer to?
I actually work with a meal prep company here, and he is, I don't know if he's like his title is a nutritionist, but he's a cook. Gino out of Lion Fit Foods is his company. Yeah. I know he sponsors a lot of fighters, so he kind of checks in with me to see where I'm at, and then he'll kind of change up my meal plans based on where we're at. it's crazy because he was the one who told me about Eric, and then I'm looking through my DMs and I find a message from Eric. So he had reached out, and I might get with him, but as far as everything right now, Gino out of Lion Fit Foods has really been helping me, and I also work with a personal trainer who has his own gym, Plyo Fit, and he's kind of he knows where we're at in camp, and he knows when to start doing a little bit more cardio, and kind of where to be. So.
I mean, it's got to be for somebody at that level. I mean, obviously they know what to do. I mean, because they got to have it down. Like you said, it's the science. Mm-hmm. I mean, I had a nutritionist growing up, and then it was Ron McDonald. Don't listen to that guy, man. That guy was full of lies, bro.
I was on that same nutrition.
Yeah, bro. Like, and it's got to be crazy because even now, I mean, you're saying you're not struggling, but it's battle getting to 185. What do you think it's going to take to go down 170, bro?
Definitely just some lifestyle changes, Unfortunately, I haven't, I tell myself every fight, like, I'm not going to blow up after, but I'll spend about a week just eating whatever I want, and then you get back into the grind, and you're working that week off, and you're just kind of thrown off behind. So a little bit of lifestyle changes, and I do lift heavy for a good period of my camp, and I think that has something to do with it. I like feeling strong, I like having strength, but at the same time, like, you can probably get away with maybe, just doing some body weight stuff and not putting on that extra mass. So we'll have to look at it and see where we can be. Like I said, I'm not forcing it, but if these weight cuts keep getting easier and easier, I would definitely be open to try.
Mm-hmm. You see, and I always ask as far as weight class because, of course, I think it was like Robbie Lawler. I mean, he was in UFC, he was fighting at 170, he was in Strikeforce, he was fighting at 185. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like when you get to the big show, of course, you want to be the bigger, stronger fighter, right? Right. So, I mean, with this weight class that you're at now, I mean, both of you guys are comfortable fighting in that weight class?
Yeah, so when I went out to Florida, I figured out that I'm a small 170. Like, these guys are huge. And they were like, you're 155? I was like, nah, I'm 70. He's like, what? But I carry a lot of weight. Like, I'm a big dude, so like.
So the Mexican genes and
everything.
Exactly. It holds on.
I'm low-key big. And then I like lifting, and 170, I feel healthy, I feel strong, I'm still able to eat, I'm still able to lift strong. Like, why am I going to cut to 155 when I can be comfortable at 170, hone in on my game, and still eat, be full of energy all the way till camp, like, till camp's over, like, what?
And that's another thing too that a lot of people don't take into consideration, because like you want to get the most out of your training. So if you're starting your cut 4 weeks out, your training's taking a toll, and like
that's all mind games too.
Yeah. You're by the third week out, you're already like, man,
I don't want this.
Did I win? You're like, yeah. What happened? You see, and I'll say this, man, because even I cut weight one time. And it was because I forgot my wallet at home. I didn't eat. But I mean, something like that, because even now, like, I know guys like Jeff Neal. I mean, he's in the UFC, fights at 170, and the guy walks around at like 200 plus. The same thing. But I mean, by the time you get to the show, like I said, you want to have it down to
everything dialed in.
Yeah, that way when it comes, I mean, you just. Like you said, I mean, the fact that you have people, your nutritionists or, people helping with your foods, calling you and checking in on you, man, that's great. Because sometimes you need that, man. I mean, you might slack a little bit, and they're going to be like, hey, man, you got to start cutting down on this and start eating this.
And our dad's involved in it, too. Like,
that's
my
dad, though, he's got to work on that, man. I'll be, like, cutting weight, and he's like, eating a burger. Like,
you're not the only one. My dad does the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you're the one cutting weight.
Hey, I got an extra one for you.
You see, and I mean, something like that, man. Yeah, no joke, man. But I mean, something like that. Does it hurt? Like, you're like, damn.
Oh no, it's definitely frustrating, but I know how he is. It's just whatever. The thing that gets me is because, like, the hunger part I can kind of manage. Like, honestly, most of the time, even though I shouldn't be doing it, I probably do. Like, I do a lot of fasted workouts, and I'm just not like hungry in the morning. I don't usually get hungry till like after afternoon time or so. So the eating part, whenever like I do like a fast, isn't too bad, but it's the water.
Yeah.
You know, I get super thirsty, and I hate. That's the one thing that I'm just like, if you're around me when I'm cutting weight, don't drink water. Don't like be around me with water. Just do that one thing for me, and we'll be all right. But
and I mean, obviously, because I mean, weight cuts, and you've seen it like even in the Big Show, man. And you've seen, I mean, some guys. Garbrandt, I mean, he fought and he looked bad at 125. I think he cut you, man. And I mean, you suffer, like you said, because I mean, if you're dehydrating beyond recognition, bro, where you can't think straight, your timing's off, and it throws you. So I mean, that's something like you were saying earlier, man. You want to test it out, make sure if you're not comfortable, then you will stay at 185.
And I think at 185 too, I still have room to put on some muscle mass. Like, I feel like even though I'm 25, I'm still kind of growing into my body, you know. I'm still getting stronger, and so I feel like my body hasn't kind of reached its hit, you know. So we'll see if, like, this last fight, I went in underweight, and that was just a scale problem that I had, you know. But I weighed in at like 183, and the weigh-in wasn't an hour. Like, I just checked myself on the scale, so I'm like, I can drink some water. And 183 wasn't that bad, you know. So I know if I made a little bit of changes within my camp, I'd probably get to, you know, 170 pretty easily. But like I said, there's still opportunity for me to put on some mass and be a little bit more heavier at 185. So we'll kind of just see what's best for me.
No, and I mean, and one of the things, like, personally, when I first started working out was that I didn't realize, or I didn't even know that, you know, muscle weighs more than fat. So of course, people, when they start working out, they're like, man, I still weigh the same.
But your muscles filled with water, so you're able to hold more water.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a give and take. Like, hey, I'm gonna be bigger, but I'm gonna be able to hold more water and drain a little bit more at coming down to the weigh-ins.
Oh yeah, you see, and those are things that obviously, I mean, even at your level, I mean, you're still learning. I mean, when it comes to you, I mean, I'm sure you're a nutritionist. He's got it down to where he's telling you, like, hey, eat this, or you can't eat that.
He wanted me to weigh in at 171, like the weight cut. He's like, I don't want you to cut any more. I don't want you to cut any less. 171 on the dot. And he showed me what I needed to do, and I did it.
Sure
that was it. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Weight, and then we follow a protocol of fluids and a little bit of food, and I mean, I got back up, so I was heavy stepping into the cage, so. But like not too heavy where I felt bloated on the cardio.
Right.
I felt primed and ready to go.
What did you weigh in on the fight day?
That's a secret.
I mean, obviously, you like you said, you felt good, so it wasn't like...
I felt good. I gained weight fast, so like my body absorbed everything, and the way he has it down, I don't know what he does, bro. So like he just tells me what to do, I do it, and I'm like, this is magic. Like, I was eating food, I was eating way more, and I was dropping weight. I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah, like, I'm gonna have to call that guy. Yeah, that's actually pretty. I mean, and I've seen it because obviously, you know, a lot of fighters at that level, man. Like you said, Dustin Poirier. I mean, he works with the guy, and Dustin's a big dude, man.
Yeah. And he has it dialed down. Like, he has it dialed down. So obviously, it works, and it's honestly a good investment. If this is really what you want, it's a good investment to go with a nutritionist or someone that really knows what they're doing in the sport. And hey, it's part of the business. Like, if this is really what you want to do, you got to go all in with everything, not just your food. You got to go all in with your training. You got to go all in with everything, because I mean, this is what you want to do. This is how you're going to build
your future. So you want to build a business and a product, a brand. Brand yourself. Your nickname, man. Who came up with that?
So that comes from my uncle, my late uncle. My uncle kind of helped everyone out, and he was a huge Dallas Cowboy fan. So it's my uncle, my tío Tony, and well, he's like, he would take me to karate tournaments when we were in Houston competing, and he was like, hey man, you're gonna be on ESPN one day, like you gotta show out like prime time. And I was like, all right, that just stuck with me. And
nice, man.
Well, he passed away, and I was like, I'm gonna pay a little homage to him, and it's prime time when I step in. Like, I'm there to show out, and I always feel him with me when I'm in the cage. Like, it's time to put in that work. It's time to put on that highlight reel, like you would say. And let's just do it. So
Yeah,
that's where prime time comes from.
And after this, your fight in March, man. I mean, can we see a victory dance afterwards or what?
I don't know. My dad will kill me. I did it once, and my dad was about to step into the cage and beat my ass. But so I'm for the most part I'm super respectful. I don't. It's the martial arts background, the karate background. You're always respectful to your opponents, and he's in there to do the same thing. Like he's trying to make a living. He's trying. Hey man, it is what it is.
So yeah, I mean it's business, nothing personal. I mean, of course, after the fight, you guys go have a beer or something.
Mm-hmm.
And yourself, and you don't have a nickname yet.
I do. I've been called the Dragon ever since I was a kid.
That's right. Yes, sir. You know what? I remember seeing that.
Yeah. The only thing that I'm cool with it. Kind of when I first started fighting, we had a few people at our gym call me the prototype, just because like ever since I was a kid, like I kind of was built up for it. And that was pretty cool too. But the Dragon just seems like a little bit more people kind of know me by it, and so it's a cool name. The only thing Machida, and you kind of gotta live under that. So I'm still open if people want to start throwing.
He's still in Bellator. You can fight him for it, man.
Yeah, that might be a good fight, man. Yeah, 2 karate guys for sure.
Yeah, no kidding, dude. That would be pretty freaking awesome, man. I mean, well, let's say this, man. If you could fight anybody like that's top level, I mean, who would it be, man?
That's a good question, man.
Like of all time?
Yeah. I mean, just if they could say, you know what, we can match you up with Victor Belfort, or you know what I mean? Like, I mean, would there be somebody that you would say, like, yeah, you know what, out of respect,
GSP. I would want to test myself versus GSP, man. I grew up watching him, and him or Iceman too. Chuck Liddell.
There's a kickboxer named Andy Hug.
Bro, yes, yeah. Bro. Damn, that
dude
freaking dope.
Was like my dad put me onto him, and that's a dream fight. Maybe MMA though, so I could take him down.
That was K1, right? So that's like, they had karate, kempo, they had kickboxing. So that was, I forgot. You know what? That was a good platform, man. I like that.
I like his style too, man. He was very flexible, had a lot of hip dexterity, and his attacks, where he can put them together pretty well. So.
Damn, man. I'm gonna have to message him right now to see if I can get a hold of the guy.
I think he passed away.
No, he did. And unfortunately, there's been a lot of fighters that have passed away, unfortunately, man. And this is before COVID, of course. But yeah, bro. But as far as the Dragon, man, was that more because of your father's gym, like out of the dojo?
And there's a whole bunch of different things that you can kind of put it to, but we've always said at like our gym, you gotta have like a dragon spirit. You gotta be able to fight through adversity. You gotta be able to, when it's time to put it on. And I felt like I've always kind of had that. Like even no matter what we're gonna do, like I'm the type of person where I'm gonna give it 120%. You know what I mean? I'm not in this to kind of look back at it and be like, could I have done that, or So I feel like that's just the personality that I have, and it kind of fits well. And then, of course, now being in MMA, a lot of people do say I do have like a Machida type of style, that I fight with, and so it kind of just fits.
You just won't drink your own pee, though, right?
Did he do that?
Yeah, bro. I think he posted that in his one of his interviews, man.
That's wild.
Yeah, bro. He said that he was using it because something about it was already filtered, so he was sipping. Wow. like tea, probably.
He went down in my top. He was my top 5. He went down one for that.
Yeah, bro. That's I don't know. It happened. I don't know if he's still doing that. I don't know, but nothing like that, of course, right?
No.
And then, obviously, your fight coming up, you had another opponent change. Your game plan is still the same. You're gonna go out there, you're gonna get the job done. Mm-hmm. That happened 3 times. Did they actually change your opponent?
Yeah. So it happened twice officially, and then I've heard through kind of, the people or whatever, that there was a few other fights that were offered that people. And I'm not like the type to you're turning down fights. I understand everyone has their own situation.
Oh, of course.
But there was a few other fights offered that didn't get confirmed.
And hopefully this one will stick. Being close to fight day, man. Are you nervous? Are you anxious?
I'm getting a little nervous, but that's with any fight. More than anything, I get excited. I have a good sparring day, I'll have a good mid session, I'll have a good day in the gym, and I'm like, man, I can't wait to put this into its final form, you know. So that kind of outrules the nervousness, but of course it gets hectic as it gets, you know, selling tickets and people hitting me up, and then of course everyone and their moms got some, hey, when you get them in this situation, you got to hit them with this, and hearing that over and over again can kind of, you know, get to you a little bit, yeah. But you know, at this point we're 4 weeks out tomorrow, so it's just a matter of starting to implement the game plan, and every day I'm feeling better and better, so that definitely helps.
And training, like, when do you stop training?
I mean, I train all the way to the week of. I stopped really like my hard sparring, if you will, probably like 2 weeks out, and then a week out we'll do like situational stuff, you know, probably with the best partners that we have that aren't going to try to, you know, do something crazy, yeah. So yeah, about 2 weeks out will be like our last hard sparring day, and then a week out we'll have another sparring session, but it's quick, it's situations, and then it's just kind of my game plan that we're doing.
Nice, man. And are you going to be out there at the fights, or are you going to be coming out?
Yeah, I'll come out and show some support, man. But yeah, I mean, I'm here to support him too, so it's a trade-off. Like, I come and help him, he comes and helps me, and we just get better.
No, for sure, man. And I mean, of course, like you mentioned earlier, man. I mean, it's you and your uncle. I mean, with the gym, your hometown. Are you going to be going up to Houston to train with the guys out there?
Yes, sir. Yeah, the boys miss me. I miss them, man. I miss all my coaches too. It's just a different atmosphere. Usually, it's just me and my uncle training, and well, I mean, I like that also. Like, I like to zone in into what I need to do, and it's an escape from like everything, because we're kind of like secluded, so there's not like
no distractions.
Exactly. All I have to do is focus on training.
Nice.
And my whole day revolves around training. Like, I have strength and conditioning, I have boxing, I have kickboxing, I have jiu-jitsu, and then I train people during that time. So that training, like, yes, it alleviates some of that stress, but I'm also breaking stuff down to teach them, and I'm also going through it in my head, like, okay, dang, I could do this, or I could do that. And I mean, it's an awesome environment. So I do that, and then I'll go like every other week to Houston, or like once I get closer, because right now I'm 12 weeks out. So I'm finishing out my first week of camp. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna finish it out, my first week of camp with Zach, and go help him out. So I mean, we're closing it up, and then we're just gonna be continuing the countdown. So.
And let me ask both you guys this, man. How much time would you need for a fight? Like, if somebody were to call you and say, hey, we want you to fight next week, I mean,
I've taken those like as an AMI, and this was something that, like, when I first transitioned over into MMA, because I had done a few kickboxing fights before, so when I transitioned over to MMA, like, as an amateur, me and my pops were like, we need to fight as much as we can just to get used to it, you know. So I've taken a fight on 2 weeks' notice. Like, after fighting, I fought, and then 2 weeks later,
really?
I fought again. Yeah, I think it wasn't twice. It was twice in a month span, but it was like the end of April,
right.
So it didn't look like that officially. But yeah, and I probably wouldn't do that again, because that's like, the fight previous was at 185, and then I jumped up to 205. And it was a good experience, you know, but for me, I'd like to have at least a month, you know, if I'm training consistently. Depending on the type of fight it is, and of course, you know, 8 weeks is usually standard for me. But like this fight, I'm a month out and I got a new opponent, so it's, you know, but it is what it is.
And yourself, man, how much time would you need?
I mean, we're always methodical with our fights, and my coaches oversee everything, and I mean, it's really how I'm feeling. So this past year, I mean, it was just hectic, dude. Like, I gained a whole bunch of weight. I was battling some injuries. After this past fight, like, we were planning to fight a lot this past year, but after this past fight, I tore my MCL.
Oh man!
And I was just like, dang, what do I do now? And so this upcoming, I mean, 2022, I'm trying to fight as much as I can, 4 to 5 fights. So I'm planning to stay in camp year round this year,
man.
And just stay dialed in and stay healthy. I mean, God willing, I stay healthy, and we
wait for that call.
Exactly. We want to go to the show, so we want to make it to the league as fast as possible and start getting paid.
You see, and another thing too, man, because obviously it's a team effort, right? I mean, of course, you'll talk to your dad, talk to your coaches, and make sure everybody's on the same page for something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Usually, whenever like I get a fight, as an Emmy, it's a little different because, I know everyone's thought process is different, but for ours, it was like, let's fight whoever we can. We want to fight the best guys because we want to experience that, But as a pro, for this last fight, we got the matchup, and then I kind of checked in with all of my coaches that I work with. They said what they had to say, and then we go from there. But of course, if it's got to be a team affair. Like I can't just, hey, by the way, I'm fighting in 2 weeks.
Everybody make time for me.
Yeah.
Like damn. But I mean, so obviously you've done kickboxing before. You competed in kickboxing?
Yes, sir. I'm world champion in kickboxing.
No kidding, man.
Fighting, yes, sir.
Damn, dude, can you walk me to my card, bro? It's a bad side of town we're in, but no. But I mean, kickboxing is an opening also. Like, I mean, would you guys be interested in like competing in kickboxing as well?
That's what originally I was gonna plan to do, and one of my karate friends, Ross Levine, he's a Glory kickboxer. He got knockout of the year in Glory. It was his first show, and he knocked the guy out. And he comes from Point Karate, and he transitioned, and then now he's fighting for Karate Combat. So like, there's so many platforms now. Like you can make money or make a career in anything really now. So there's a whole bunch of options.
You see, there's one called the Pillow Fighting Championship. I'm looking at getting into that myself, man, but. I mean, even then, I don't know, man. I'm at that age, bro. No, but yourself, man. I mean, would you be, somebody were to come up and say, "We're paying"?
It's funny you say that because there was when I, announced I was going pro, there was an offer that came up. Not necessarily an offer, but seeing if I wanted to. But with this contract that I'm locked in with Fury, it's kind of I got to stay with them for 4 fights, which I'm happy to do. I love being with them. But. I would love to. It's a little bit more different. It's if you're gonna do MMA, then you got to stick to MMA. Right. If you're gonna do kickboxing, you got to stick to that. But I would definitely be open to that for sure.
And I know, I mean, like you said, I mean, platforms, man. I mean, we've got Triad Combat that happened in Arlington. I mean, it was just like MMA versus boxing, and it was basically like a dirty boxing type concept. Yeah, man, and it's a triangle ring. So I mean, of course, it changes the game plan. Yeah. But I mean, of course, there's so much stuff, especially in Russia, man. You got like 5-on-5. You got,
fighting bears.
They'd be out there in the snow.
The 5-on-5 though, man, that one I need to get into.
You just gotta make sure you get five good people.
Yeah. We gotta have a squad for sure.
Yeah, bro. But I mean, stuff like that, man. I mean, of course, like you said, there's a platform for everything, man. I mean, they have the pillow thing. Of course, it is out there, man. I mean, they've got that slap thing competition going. It's just it gets
competition to play tag, like
bro. You see, and stuff like that, man. I mean, it's I mean, people are gonna watch it or they're not. I mean, mixed martial arts, of course, it's been exactly, bro. Everybody's got their own little taste and what they're looking at. But I mean, mixed martial arts, man. I mean, combat sports, of course, that's y'all's thing. Mm-hmm. And say, 10 years from now, man. I mean, what is it? Healthy. You're still competing. I mean, what is it that you're looking forward to, like in your life?
Well, I would like to either take over my father's gym at that point in time. I mean, he's still running it. He's still very active in it. I teach some of our kickboxing classes, but I would like to have a gym of my own, whether that be my father's or my own. And that's kind of why, like I said, I played college football. When I graduated college, I came and did a traditional 9-to-5 for a year. And I'm like, this just isn't, And I find myself the happiest when I'm in a gym, And so 10 years from now, I think I would definitely be having my own. With the connections that I'm making through this game, I'm expanding my knowledge and having a decent set of skills that, I can offer. So hopefully we'll be doing that.
Man, and yourself, I mean, of course you guys already have a business, but I mean, are you thinking...
I want to be the UFC champion of the world, so I'm trying to be there for as long as I can, make as much money as I can, put on some crazy fights, maybe transition into boxing, make a big old money fight, and then just leave a long-lasting legacy in sport karate and MMA and honestly, whatever I do, I wanna create a legacy for all my family coming up after me.
No, for sure, especially your students, man. I mean, you guys are out there teaching now. I mean,
and I got 2 little brothers too, a 5 and a 7-year-old, and they're coming up doing karate. They have their first tournament next month, and I just see like little glimpses of like, man, these kids could be so crazy.
Oh yeah, bro. You see, and I mean, the fact that you guys started early in your life. I mean, of course, you know, it was karate in this point, but I mean, still, that's it's kind of like a collegiate wrestling. You know, kids 7 years old starting wrestling, they get into MMA and they're like, damn, you know. And then it's the same thing because you guys been doing stand up so long that you know you have that upper hand on people that just started 2 years ago or started.
And it's crazy because like I feel as martial arts expands, like a lot of people kind of downplay sport karate, and I get it. Like a lot of sport karate sometimes can be real non-realistic, you know, but the aspects that it teaches you, I think is key in any stand-up fighting. Timing, distance, you know, control of the pace.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
and the use of the ring, honestly, too.
Being able to be comfortable in corners and knowing how to move setups, you know. A lot of people think stand-up is just punch, kick, punch, and that's that, you know. But there's, like, in my eyes, there's so much more to it, you know. It's keys that you can read off of, and I think I learned all of those in sport karate, you know.
Yeah, it's chess, not checkers.
So. Exactly,
you see, and I was going to say, too, because it's got to be hard to not kick somebody hard. I mean, of course, you're doing points and you're trying to score.
I mean, we're still kicking people hard.
Oh, yeah.
Twisted, man.
No, well, I guess what I meant, like, for example, like Wonder Boy, you know, he's out there. You know, I know he did, God, I forgot the, World Combat, what's it?
WEC or WC.
World Combat League.
Yeah, the round thing, right?
Yeah,
there you go.
You see, I mean, he came from that and he got in the UFC. I mean, he's had success. I mean, I know he's had a couple of tough losses, but I mean, you see him and not a lot of people can touch him, man, because.
And it blows my mind, man, because like, I mean, this last 2 fights, he's kind of, you know, I think it's more of an age thing than anything, but. Everyone's always like, man, his fighting style is so unique, and it's like, I've seen that like so many times, you know. Yeah, but it's different, you know, and he utilizes it so well and knows how to mix it up, you know, that it does kind of come off as. And I've sparring with different people, you know, going into a Muay Thai gym, and they're like, yeah, you're switching stances, and you're moving, and you're light on your feet, and you know, it's kind of everything that we learn from sport karate, you know.
No, for sure. And then, I mean, like you just mentioned right now, when you're sparring with people that are just doing Muay Thai or like, you know, or kickboxing, so you feel like you have an upper hand when it comes to like certain.
Yeah, I mean, I know when I go versus a kickboxer or a Muay Thai guy, I know they're gonna be tough.
Right.
These guys want to stand and bang. I don't like getting hit, so I'm gonna move my feet. I'm gonna use feints. I'm gonna use ankles. And I'm in and out, just like point fighter, but now I'm putting a little bit more punch.
Oh yeah, for sure, man.
So
and seeing like, you know, taking what he just said, seeing, you know, pop hit. Okay, I see where his hand's at. You know, when I'm going in, and it's all a build up. You know, it's all, you don't have to. I mean, one punch knockouts are cool and they happen, but what I like to see more is the setups. You know, and see it kind of evolve over the fight. Yeah, for sure.
You see, and because of the point karate, I mean, do you guys? I guess, like even earlier, when you're sparring with people and just, you know, getting a workout, but do you see openings? They're kind of like, oh man, like.
Yeah, no, definitely. And the thing that I've had to struggle with is I'll see those openings and then I'm like, here it is, and then, you know, you got to worry about the shot now, you know, and so being able to just kind of put that in my mind and take it into consideration and, you know, just know that that's possible is an adjustment. But, you know, every time I spar, I try to mimic my game plan, and I try to break down who I'm fighting.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Man, that's pretty dope, man. I mean, well, let me ask this, man. I mean, as far as, I mean, everybody wants to be a world champion, and I believe you guys can. You know, can be. You know, most fighters get into movies. Most fighters, you know, there's opportunities to make money, commercials, and you name it. But when it comes to, I mean, would you say later on, I mean, you win a world title, I mean, movie opportunities come up, man, would you be willing to do something like that?
I can get paid for not getting hit in the face.
There you go, no kidding, man.
So, yeah, that would definitely be a route for me. Like, I'd want to do that. I mean, I suck at talking, but
Yeah, I'll be there in the back.
I have to be with. I need somebody holding a board.
There you
so
go,
I
man.
can-
Not for you to break, but for the alpha, man.
Exactly.
And I mean, are you? I mean, you seem like a pretty outgoing person, man. I mean, are you cool as far as being outside and being like a public speaker or just talking to?
I mean, I guess so. I'm comfortable with talking to people. I'm getting more comfortable. I mean, the more that my career expands,
Right.
like I have to talk to more people. I have to put on my business hat and business tie. Like, all right, I need to present myself like a professional.
Right.
So these are things that me and my uncle go over. My dad's been telling me since a kid, like, hey, you need to go and get just a speech class. Like, go learn how to be a public speaker. And me and my uncle go over all this all the time. It's like, hey, dude, like, talk to yourself. Like, you gotta be comfortable speaking, because when you're under the lights, you start stuttering and
What do you see yourself in 10 years? You're like, I like fight.
Yeah, exactly.
You see, and that's one of the things, man. I mean, are you comfortable with that, man? I mean, obviously you both teach. So I mean, you're gym and you're teaching others. But I mean, if you're out in public, are you comfortable just?
I feel like I'm pretty comfortable. Like I said, I was blessed enough to go play college football, and that kind of opened my eyes into knowing that, like, there's more than just football. You got to do media, you got to talk to kids, you got to go read to kids. And our football program was really big on, like, being out in the community. So that helped a lot. And then, of course, teaching. And then even my job, I've talked to a lot of doctors and different professionals, that are, like, experts in what they do. I work at UT Health.
Nice.
And so I'm having to, like, experience that type of, and it's a different talk. It's a different, And
you gotta
so,
use big words like.
But one thing for sure that I feel like I'm comfortable in my own skin, and I know that I'm a fighter, but there's more to me. Like, I feel like, especially older, like, they just were MMA guy, or they just fought and that was it, but I'm definitely, comfortable.
We're not just athletes.
Yeah, we can have a conversation, dude.
I know, right? What do you want to talk about? You're like, hey. But I mean, as far as like film or anything like that, I mean, you would.
Yeah, I would love that. I got a degree in mass media, and I did a little bit of, like, not film, but seeing kind of how that goes, and I fell in love with it. So that would be super, super cool. Same thing like Isaac said, if I can get paid to not get punched in the face, that would be pretty cool.
You see, and the thing about it too, man, because even now, like, some of the UFC fighters now, the guys that I do talk to, I'm like, man, you know what? Go do a seminar, go do a fight clinic, go do. If you're not fighting, go make some money, man. Go get paid.
In sport karate, that's so, like, that's regular. Like, other instructors going to do seminars, and like you teaching other people, that's so regular. So, like, it kind of comes off easy, not easy, but it's not as challenging as it should be.
Right.
And once you do it once, it gets easier and easier.
It's like second nature. You're like, yeah, man, I'll go teach.
Yeah, and I mean, that's another way. That's another source of income.
No, for sure.
So,
man. Yeah.
I mean, the better you get at it, the better you get at breakdowns and teaching things. I mean, that's only gonna help you. And like, my uncle really pushed me to release an instructional. So like, I started releasing some instructional content.
Yeah, so I started watching your videos, man. That's kind of what I was asking, because I mean, of course, I mean, it's a different outlet. I mean, it's an outlet that you're already doing. You're just being recorded, so why not, right?
Yeah, but that took like 12 hours to do four videos. Yeah, exactly. No, and just because I wasn't comfortable in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Like, that's a whole nother battle. Like, the athletes don't understand. This is a whole nother battle. You're in front of the camera now. Like, everyone's watching you.
Oh yeah. You see,
don't mess up.
Yeah, exactly, bro. And I'll say this, man, because I know, like, for instance, Combate Global, Combate Americas, they're pushing more towards Latino, culture, and of course,
awesome.
Yeah, and the thing about it, man, is that a lot of the fighters that they were picking up here in Texas, a lot of them weren't bilingual, man. So it was kind of hard. They start speaking Spanish, and you're like, man, what's this guy just saying? But it's a lot of them were, it's different when you're here and you're like, okay, you talk to somebody, but as soon as the camera turns on, like you said, man, you're like, oh,
deer in headlights.
Yeah, exactly, man. And a lot of fighters aren't used to that. I mean, one of the things I always tell people is like, man, get used to it, because
you're a professional now.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
these are things that you're gonna face.
Yeah, you see, and I mean, with FuryFC, of course, I mean, thousands of people are going to be watching you on Fight Pass. I mean, Dana White's going to be watching. It's like all these people, and it's like if they come up to you and you don't you know, they see that, man, and it's like, man, we need somebody that can sell. We need somebody that can showcase, that can, you know, go out there and sell a fight. I mean, of course, you know, fighter first and foremost, but I mean, of course, you know, sponsors, man, they want to see that too.
Yeah.
You know, they want to see you pushing their product. They want to see you wearing their product. So it's like if you're not producing, they're not gonna keep sponsoring you, man.
Exactly.
You know, of course, you know, they want sales too. But yeah, man. But you know what? I'm gonna cut this short, man. I know it's already been like an hour and 20. But I appreciate you guys coming in, man. I mean, of course, you know, he dragged you out here, man, and thank you for that, man. I appreciate
you having us on here.
No problem. As far as Isaac Moreno, man, you're fighting in March. Hopefully, if you come back down, we'll catch you again.
Yes, sir.
So, I mean, good luck with that, but we will be in touch. And Zachary, man, Borrego, next time I want you to bring your dad, man. I would like to talk to the guy because, like I said, dude, I mean, a lot of respect to him because he was here. I mean, I'm sure he's got stories, and I'm sure you've heard them all. But I, you know, like to talk to the guy and question him because obviously, I mean, him being in San Antnonio, you know, martial artist for years, bro. You know, literally, I'm sure he's got a lot of stories, bro. So definitely, I appreciate that, guys. You know, till next time, man. I mean, everybody out there, you know, this is the Fight Card Podcast. Thank you, gentlemen. Best of luck to what the future holds, man.
Yes, sir.
Until next time, everybody, follow up. My man, thank you, guys.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That was fun. Yeah, my dad went